On an ordinary summer morning in August 2018, a quiet Colorado neighborhood became the center of one of the most disturbing family crimes in recent American history. A pregnant woman was missing, 2 young children were gone, and the man pleading for their safe return was the one who already knew the truth. This is the closed case of the Watts family murders. Shannan Watts was 34 years old. She was a mother, a social media personality, and a woman deeply invested in her family's life. She shared videos of her daughters, Bella and Celeste, laughing in their home. She documented daily routines, birthdays, and milestones. To friends and followers, her life appeared busy, loving, and hopeful. She was also 15 weeks pregnant with her 3rd child, a baby boy she planned to name Nico. Her husband, Chris Watts, worked as an oil field operator. By most accounts, he was quiet, reserved, and rarely the center of attention. Neighbors described him as polite and unassuming. From the outside, the Watts family looked like many others, a young couple, 2 children, a suburban home, and plans for the future. But behind closed doors, the marriage was unraveling. In the months leading up to August, Chris had begun an affair with a coworker. Investigators later revealed that he was living a double life, presenting himself as a devoted husband at home while secretly imagining a future without his family. Financial stress, marital conflict, and emotional distance had been building quietly, largely unseen by those around them. On the night of August 12th, Shannan returned home from a business trip just after 2 a.m. A friend dropped her off and watched her walk inside. It was the last time Shannan Watts was seen alive. By morning, she and the children were gone. Chris Watts contacted Shannan's friend later that day, claiming he couldn't reach his wife and that she had missed a doctor's appointment. Alarm bells immediately went off. Shannan was known for being punctual, responsible, and constantly connected to her phone. Concern escalated quickly. Police arrived at the Watts home for a welfare check. Chris let them inside, speaking calmly, even nervously, as officers searched the empty house. Shannan's purse was still there. Her phone was on the couch. The children's blankets and favorite toys were untouched. Everything suggested that no one had left willingly. Chris stood in the living room as officers asked questions. He told them his wife had taken the children after an emotional conversation and gone to stay with a friend. But there was no evidence to support that story. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's camera showed Chris backing his truck into the driveway early that morning, something he rarely did, and loading items inside. No footage showed Shannan or the children leaving. As the investigation intensified, Chris appeared in local news interviews asking for his family to come home. He spoke directly to the camera, pleading for their safe return. But viewers immediately sensed something was wrong. His words felt rehearsed. His body language was stiff. His emotions seemed disconnected from the gravity of the situation. Behind the scenes, detectives were already narrowing in on him. 2 days after the disappearance, investigators asked Chris to take a polygraph test. Before the results were even revealed, he broke down and confessed, but not to the full truth. He claimed that Shannan had killed their children in a rage and that he had killed her in response. It was a lie meant to soften the reality of what he had done. The truth was far worse. Confronted with mounting evidence, Chris Watts eventually admitted that he had strangled Shannan in their bedroom while she was pregnant and defenseless. He then smothered his 2 daughters, one by one. Investigators later revealed that Bella fought back, asking her father if what was happening was going to happen to her too. After killing his family, Chris drove their bodies to his worksite. Shannan was buried in a shallow grave. Bella and Celeste were placed inside separate oil storage tanks. He then went about his workday as if nothing had happened. The discovery of the bodies shocked the nation. The brutality, the betrayal, and the calculated nature of the crime horrified even seasoned investigators. A man who appeared calm and ordinary had annihilated his entire family to pursue a new life. Chris Watts was arrested and charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with a deceased human body. Facing overwhelming evidence and the possibility of the death penalty, he accepted a plea deal in November 2018. He pled guilty to all charges. The case was closed without a trial, but the pain did not end there. During sentencing, Shannan's family delivered emotional victim impact statements, speaking directly to the man who had erased their daughter and grandchildren from the world. They described the lives that would never be lived, the birthdays that would never come, and the future that had been stolen. Chris Watts was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He will never be released. In the years since, the case has been examined relentlessly, not because of unanswered questions, but because of how disturbingly ordinary it all seemed. There was no history of violent crime, no dramatic warning signs visible to outsiders, no frantic escape plan, just a man who decided that his family was an obstacle to his desires. Psychologists have analyzed his behavior extensively, pointing to emotional detachment, narcissism, and a complete lack of empathy. Investigators have described him as cooperative, but eerily calm, even when discussing the details of the murders. For the public, the case became a grim lesson in how deception can hide in plain sight. Social media posts showing smiling children and cheerful family moments now stand in painful contrast to the truth of what was happening behind the camera. Today, Shannan Watts and her children are remembered not for how they died, but for who they were: a mother full of energy and hope, a little girl who loved to sing, and a toddler with an infectious laugh. Their names live on in memorials, foundations, and in the minds of millions who followed their story.